Hi, RJ.
I think it's
We're back.
working now. Yes, I think it's working.
Ye- Yeah. Well, we still have all the nonsense that I said in the previous one. It was just a rehearsing. Now this is for real.
This is a real deal. Yes, and I think no, it looks so positive for everyone that we are restarting. I think no one was able to actually see what we were doing before, because it was a problem with StreamYard that it didn't even record what we were saying. We will check why that was the case later. So we did a new stream and it's working fine. So thank you for rejoining and being patient. Um, I will let the ecosystem team know that they should share the new link so people are aware.
Yeah,
Yes, we have
but
like 50 people already now. Yes,
yeah, we'll have to go a bit faster because then you have to
yeah.
leave for some meetings, RJ. That's why we moved the meeting earlier. And well, we are not
So
having Mauro and Boris since they are still like recovering. Uh,
exactly. So we'll do the following. No, this is not. Well, we can start actually here, Dio, very quickly. That I think it was important that we did this week. We can start with
okay.
some updates in general, and then at the end, then with the engineering update. So something that we didn't mention in the previous attempt, but I think it's important to mention here now that I mistakenly opened the another blog. We published a few days ago, I think on Friday, this blog that we have been working on called Why Ethereum. I think on some live streams we have been mentioning that we have been working on this. The basic idea is to try to put in written form um, our reasoning and our reasoning behind like why do we like Ethereum and why we decided to build on top of Ethereum. So trying to put information that we think is valuable for other people, um, like explain what is Ethereum, what's the security of Ethereum, how is it backed, trying to explain not only the technical reasons why we like Ethereum, but also why it's a good place to do business. Like institutions use Ethereum and new companies or startups use Ethereum as well, is the preferred choice by individuals for using stablecoins, and for big companies to use stablecoins and assets in general. So it's basically our point of view of why Ethereum is the future financial backend of the internet and probably of the world. Is going to be something that we are going to use to talk with people who are new in the ecosystem. So all of this information is going to be useful for us in the future because uh, we're meeting a lot of people who are interested in using crypto as a backend, and they're new. We need to explain them these new terminologies, explain our reasoning of why we believe Ethereum is probably the best case for most projects. Depends on what the company wants, um, and explain that in one line Ethereum is a decentralized financial backend, censorship resistant, and is our preferred choice because it's the most decentralized, the most secure, and it has access to the biggest and deepest liquidity in the market. So this is the first edition that we did a tweet campaign a few weeks ago, trying to get feedback from the community on getting ideas of why people usually use Ethereum, and we put this in written form. Um, we'll try to do more of this kind of stuff because it's important to explain our vision, and also is very important work for new people and newcomers in the space. Like many CTOs and CEOs will try to understand why they should build on top of Ethereum, and part of our job is having all the information ready, so whatever they need, they can start. Uh, they can start working on top of this as soon as possible. So we're building the solutions, but we're building the technology and the solutions for building on top of Ethereum, but we believe we should also offer the content of why it's important to build on Ethereum. So this was very important work by Carlos and Boris. I think it was a very good first attempt. And we'll probably do a second version, and we'll also explain why we're choosing CK, why we believe the roadmap of Ethereum is the correct one, uh, more
Yeah,
stuff.
and in fact, in a world where we are moving towards having like verifiable applications, which is something that we also wanted to discuss with RJ,
Yeah.
Ethereum is kind of like the source of truth. That is to
Mhm.
say, it's the only credibly neutral
Neutral.
infrastructure because it's like heavily decentralized. Okay, and so we face a world where um, it's hard to trust even things that we see. Why? Because the advances in AI are so great, and people are using AI for their daily tasks. In fact, RJ joked on Twitter that he discusses his ideas with the LLM to get like feedback.
It's not a
Uh,
joke. It's actually real.
yeah,
Not everything, right? But I use it as we do this a lot in the office. Here, when you have an idea, you speak with someone that usually to debate, but it also helps you organize the thoughts around
yes,
something. That
yes,
part is the
it's
most useful about ChatGPT, like the back and forth, because there are many things that I wouldn't trust the answer of an LLM for a debate. I wouldn't talk about cryptography with an LLM. I will go, and if I have questions and want to have a better understanding, I will go to you, of course. But it's good for like kind of
yeah,
like
and
an
writing
intern.
down yes, and writing down maybe some ideas or
Yeah,
analyzing like critically some things. It's useful for always like a first draft, or at least maybe you have like a hunch, but then
yeah,
you need to like start
exactly.
like um, looking at different aspects, and maybe it gives you like some kind of feedback. But what that shows is that uh, AI is permeating in different areas, and so we can expect that it will be an integral part of many other applications. And so something that we need to ensure is the integrity of, for example, the inference, to be able
Yeah,
to show that, for example, we get the answer from the model we are expecting, that and that we are not getting fooled by the AI. Okay, or that we are not getting our answers from a group of engineers just typing instead of having the LLM generate the answers.
that
Okay,
actually happened. I don't know if you
yeah,
saw that. Ah, okay.
that's
There
why
was a
I
scam.
yeah. So imagine it's really hard to know if some things are real or not. And so it would be great if we had a way of ensuring like at least fairness and correctness of the inference, because maybe some of those things might be used then for other applications or might be an input to other algorithms. So it is important to ensure that, and that's why in Aligned we are like thinking of adding some more verifiers in order to be able
Yeah,
to verify uh, AI inference. That is something that we know. That is to say, we cannot think that crypto is going to develop independently of AI, or that some of the tools we are using in Aligned aren't going to be useful for AI. Okay, so we want to uh, use Ethereum, which is like the only credibly neutral piece of infrastructure to certify the integrity of lots of computation. And Aligned is obviously important because Aligned is the one making that verification costs are sufficiently low so that these checks can be performed like very cheaply and efficiently. Of course, I think that perhaps the best thing we would love is to have actually verifiable training so that we can ensure that the LLM does not contain any bias or has been trained with a different like training set. but so far we cannot guarantee that that's computationally more intensive than other things. But for inference, at least for some models, we can do that. So it's interesting, and we see that as CKVMs become more powerful, it's even easier to prove like larger programs or larger models.
Yes, and not only is easier to prove them in terms of speed, it's easier to develop them. That I think is also very important. Like if you want this to scale in terms of more people building stuff, CKVMs are a great way to give tools to millions of developers instead of having people that know cryptography in order to do all of this inference. Um, I remember, I don't know if you remember this deal, but like a few years ago, we actually studied briefly someone doing CKML, and they did like the inference using discrete math instead of floating points for for the inference and also for the training. Like they did a completely different type of machine learning, so it should have been more efficient for proving. But proving is getting so good that it's not a bottleneck so far.
Yeah, I think that we can expect lots of applications to get verifiable because CKVMs add like a layer of abstraction. And so programmers don't have to bother with understanding like circuits and coding the circuits by themselves and everything. They just like code their ordinary program. Maybe they have to be careful not at adding like extra garbage to their code, just making something that can be proven really efficiently, and they are good to go. So the process of development of verifiable applications is like greatly simplified. And
Yeah.
not only that, CK also offers privacy, and we can have like selective disclosure of our data. Okay, which is something important because right now when we give our data, uh, for example, when we are doing like a KYC or something, we are giving away lots of information, and then we trust that the other party is not going to do anything with our data. But with CK, we could prove that, in fact, we fulfill certain characteristics and everything, and not have to give the exact details. So this is interesting. I think that also digital identity is going to become more and more important. I think some governments and everything are starting to realize the potential for all of these. It makes like easier use of digital identity, less likely to fraud, less likely to be hacked, destroyed, whatever. So this is like something like really, really important.
Yes, it's probably like what we are seeing. I think that I put here the manifesto because talking about AI and all of those things, that the bottleneck for human beings to coordinate is usually trust. And humanity like catches up and finds ways and creates protocol laws or whatever rules in order to allow humans to coordinate between each other, even if they don't trust them, right? Like that's like all of the things we create regarding laws, regulations, all of those things is to improve making things safer when you're interacting with someone else. The issue we're seeing is with the internet, you created a global world where everyone is interacting with each other and coordinating. So crypto became like the native way, or is becoming the native way for people to do finance online uh, and for internet natives. What we claim in the manifesto is that the problem of not trusting third parties and having trust when you need to coordinate with other people is expanding not only for the internet but everywhere. Because with AI, you already don't know if you can trust what you're seeing, what you're reading. Many processes that are important in society, I don't know, like KYC, for example, for identity, is completely and fully broken because there are a lot of people that like actually check papers, like banks. They check in Europe. They even use fax systems for some stuff. Like you want to do a wire, you need to send the paperwork signed All of those things are getting replaced by um, image generation with AI, and also like LLM speaking and talking. So if that's the case, you need we will need to rebuild certain institutions and protocols we have. And blockchains are the best way in order to create commitments of something that actually happened, because you create consensus around, hey, this is actually true, this is something that we check that is working, then it's that it's safe. Um, and the best way to create those commitments and the scalable way of doing it is using CK. So we believe that align that all the test stack that we're building is going to be useful for all of these people to rethink how certain things work and improve them using zero knowledge proofs and Ethereum. So the first wave is finance, but the next waves are for everything. Like
Yeah,
many things, many protocols in human societies will need to be rethink, and we believe this tech is going to be useful for that.
yeah. We will see like a lot of things moving directly on chain where you can guarantee more the integrity
Yeah,
and fairness of everything, uh, where you don't really need to trust the other parties to ensure that things are done properly. Speaking of deep fakes and all that, RJ, I think it is important to remind the audience that we have seen like several impersonators
yeah,
trying to pretend they are part of the Align team, that they are even one of us. Just in case, remember, we are not going to contact you directly
no,
for something, unless, of course, we know you in real life and everything. And also, we are never, ever, ever going to ask you to download something or to execute some code or anything. If you are facing like some problems, we don't use random platforms or anything, because we know that uh, the world is full of scammers and everything. So never, we are just going to talk, never say like, oh, my mic is failing or something, and ask you to like download something else. So please be careful with scammers. Uh, in doubt, first, it's better to think it's not us. We are not going to get offended, or at least I am not going to get offended if you think that I, the real Diego, I am a scammer. I think it would be even wise to think like, okay, maybe he's not, and you can check using other channels or asking other people. But if they say download something, uh, it's not us,
no. We
or
will
execute
never,
something.
never, ever, ever send download content. And this is very important that you mention it. Please be careful that someone is impersonating Diego. This usually happens. It's very common in crypto projects. Be very careful, and that's one of the reasons why we interact with our community in channels like Telegram, and mostly in Telegram and also Discord and our Twitter. And that's why we don't interact on DMs, because if we speak a lot in DMs with other people, that could create uh, that could send the wrong message, because the other people could expect me to DM them, and it's harder for them to actually identify that is us.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and also if we, for example, you see like somebody pretending to be us and being with people from other projects and everything, saying we are in some podcast, blah blah blah, it's more likely to be a fake. Okay, uh, that is to say, we obviously talk with people from other projects and everything, but it would be very, very, very strange that all of the sudden people from different projects are going to approach and say like, oh look, we never met you ever before and everything, let's do something. It happens all the time. Today I think I even got somebody trying to do that. Maybe the guy was legit, but I hadn't met him before, and it sounded like, are you ready for a quick call? And it was like, I am not sure,
I'm not
not
ready.
interested. Yeah, at least I think it's and everything.
Oh,
We are going to several conferences and all that. And if you are there, of course, you can always meet us and talk to us and see that we are the guys in flesh and blood. Unless, of course, they develop like super advanced robots that can look, for example, exactly like RJ. Of course, so far, I think RJ AI has been editing you with a lot of hair. So I
Yes.
think they are still not that efficient.
And also,
Yeah,
they will never be able to catch up because progressively I'm losing more hair, so it's difficult to get to the same point. Um, I'm constantly changing.
yeah,
So
and if
yeah, please be careful. That's the message.
yeah, and if you know Spanish, you can ask and say speak in Argentine Spanish and even do like some comments, and you'll realize that it's us. It's almost like impossible to fake that. Okay, so I think that covers at least some of the things we wanted to discuss, RJ. I don't want to keep you like
No,
too late.
I think that's mostly it. The last thing is engineering updates, and what I wanted to summarize is because we believe this is important and we have been contacted by some AI projects, we will do some testing and we'll try to integrate a particular project's tech relatively soon, so we can have developers build some of these tools on top of Align and on top of Ethereum. Diego, do you want to walk through quickly on the engineering updates?
Yeah, I think that the most important things right now are the updates of the versions for SP1 to 5.0.0 and the GNARC to 0.12. Okay, these are already like working. Then there have been like some improvements related to the reliability of the operators, making quality of life easier, avoiding like some issues they were facing maybe with RPC calls. And then there were like some little things such as, for example, support search for aggregation mode, so that in the
Yeah.
Explorer you can query like proofs by the Merkle root or the proof commitment in the aggregated proof. Uh, Docs have also been upgraded. There are like some uh, new information and everything. And then, of course, there are like some things related to limiting the number of proofs the aggregator can fetch. But I think that the broad thing is uh, the the versions of SP1 and GNARC have been
Yeah.
updated, and then there are like some things related to operators. And then, as RJ said, we are like working on testing some of the tech of these AI uh, project. Okay, and we hope we will be able to integrate soon, and so people will be able to start playing with it.
Mhm.
Uh, so that, I think that's mostly on the engineering side. If people have like some questions, of course, next week we will have Mauro back with more updates, so you can also ask him on previous updates.
Yes. Probably have more again on Monday. So to summarize quickly, both fast mode and narration mode are still well, the fast mode is getting improved, and the aeration mode is getting improved as well, but completing certain features. So we can have it ready at some point for mainnet. And we will have something that we didn't mention that is important. We will have an upgrade on mainnet soon with some of these changes that already happened in testnet that we already tested that they work correctly. So you will see the operators upgrading at some moment the software they run. And yes, in general, we're usually improving reliability, performance, and kind of UX on the Explorer, trying to show the correct information and making sure it's easier for developers to build on top of us. These are the two things that we have this week. And as well, we're working with integration of Ethrex for the rollup stack solution that last week we shared a demo, and we'll probably try to update everyone more on this integration soon. So people, just to remind everyone, you will be able to launch your rollup using Ethrex and getting it verified on top of Aligned in a very simple way. So everyone should be able to launch the rollup in just a matter of minutes and without us even having to give support. Of course, we'll give support, but the whole idea is to try to give the tooling without people having to ask us too much. So, with that being said, I need to run. Diego, thank you.
Thank you,
I hope.
Jay.
Thank you everyone for the patience on the technical difficulties, and we'll see each other next week. Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye.